Now, the best part of our graduation ceremony is that we ask students to do most of the talking. So on to our student speakers. This year's senior graduation speaker is selected by a panel of faculty and administrators as Aadil Mufti. We just... Aadil's teachers describe him as genuine, inquisitive, and intellectual, a consistent scholar who has a passion for many areas, including engineering, economics, and computer science. With a demanding course load, he has achieved the honor roll every year since coming to Hun in the 9th grade. Aadil has also distinguished himself outside the classroom as secretary of the student government, president of the Model United Nations Club, a student leader of Corner House, an actor, and a soccer player. Many of us will also remember the remarkable performance Aadil gave not only today, but at our talent show on the traditional Pakistani drum called the dole. We look forward to hearing about Aadil's accomplishments next year when he begins his career at New York University. Please welcome Aadil Mufti. Good luck, Aadil. Go get him.
Before I begin, I'd like to thank all of my teachers, coaches, theater directors, advisors, and friends I've had here at Hun. They're the true reason that my Hun experience was more than anything I could have asked for. I'd also like to give a special thank you to my parents, not just for supporting me throughout my high school years, but my entire life. Now, I'd like to talk about an object that embodies my experience here at Hun. No, it isn't an academic award. It's certainly not an athletic trophy. It isn't even a college acceptance letter. It's this eraser, this tube eraser. I remember very vividly how I got a hold of this eraser. It was the first night before my first official day of high school, and I can tell you it was not a fun night. In fact, it was a night full of adolescent anxiety, and to top it all off, I could not find an eraser. As I aggressively sifted through the drawers of my desk, I found this light blue plastic tube. This eraser, for some odd reason, captivated me, and I thought to myself, wow, I just found this really cool eraser in my room. Who would not want to be friends with me? Eventually, I'd come to learn that coolness in high school is different than coolness in the 4th grade. High school coolness has nothing to do with school supplies. Back then, my eraser was full, clean, devoid of any graphite marks, and was not abused by a fidgety teenage boy. Now its rubber grip is broken, I need a pencil to make it longer, it's only about a quarter full, and there are a lot of graphite marks. AKA, it's very worn out. When we think of erasers, we think of them as devices that allow us to forget our mistakes. Devices that give us a second chance. But to me, this baby blue eraser is more than a generic object I used on midterms, AP tests, class notes, and homework assignments. Inside this eraser is a vast universe of memories. Inside this smudged piece of soft rubber are all of the sentences of in-class essays that were retracted, all of my mistakes on calculus tests, all of the doodles I made when I was bored in class, and all of the times I wrote my crush's name and then erased it out of fear that someone would see it. As human beings, we have this constant habit of remembering huge moments of our lives, moments of sheer grandiosity, like today or weddings or whatever it may be. But inside this eraser is the complete opposite of those moments. Inside my eraser is the mucky minutia of daily life, the things you don't see in the movies. As much as we try to forget our boredom, our mistakes, our suffering, and our routine, the fact of the matter is that these things are intrinsically bound to the human experience. It's easy for us to get bored of our lives and enter into a state of perpetual disappointment. But what's difficult for us is to see the beauty in the boredom and the suffering and those 4-minute intervals between classes. As paradoxical as it might sound, we have the ability to take our suffering and make it our best friend. Because on the other side of that suffering is a better version of ourselves. If we really want to be the heroes of our own lives, then it's so important for us to just stop in moments of pain and frustration and cherish the things that we normally take for granted. I can say that throughout my high school years, I've had my fair share of adolescent atrocities. Everyone does. And I remember very vividly that the one thing I looked forward to every day during the stressful times wasn't for some genie to appear and give me 3 wishes. It was actually the 15 minutes before classes would start, at 7:35 a.m., where my friends and I just sat at the corner of the library and just joked around. To me, those mornings in the library are what taught me the art of finding beauty in life, even when it seems impossible to do so. In times of heartbreak, we have the ability to cherish the people around us and make life a little bit better. Because if politicians and intellectuals are going to constantly talk about how humanity is doomed, then we have the choice to stand in defiance of that sentiment and realize that in this world, the things that really matter are the sporadic waves and smiles in the hallways, compliments from complete strangers, and those awkward, beautiful, minute moments of life. And that is awesome. In the words of the late author, David Foster Wallace, quote, "What passes for hip, cynical transcendence of sentiment is really some kind of fear of being really human. Since to be really human is probably to be unavoidably sentimental and naive and goo-prone and generally pathetic." Each and every single one of us has the choice to just go out into the dark abyss of life and find the little sparks of happiness that make us realize that the world isn't that boring and awful, and that the people around us are here so that we can cherish them with all of their individual quirks. That communal integrity is a pillar of human existence, and that we can take our mistakes and laugh at them and cry at them and make them a core part of our lives and who we are. To my classmates, for 4 years, we've dragged our bodies to class at 7:50 in the morning. And in those 4 years, we've shared moments with each other. Moments that we can look back on in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years and laugh at and cry at and, of course, cringe at, and realize that the most important lessons we learned were from the people around us and our own silly, silly mistakes. If we choose to cherish our boredom, to see the beauty in our suffering, as difficult as that might sound, and just be present in every single minute moment we have in our lives, then maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to find journeys, destinies, and dreams we never thought we'd ever encounter. Because underneath the thick cloth of mundane human existence is a heart full of love, laughter, and that one thing called life. At the end of the day, we're just like this eraser, full of mistakes, full of suffering, full of boredom, frustration, and sheer absurdity. But just like this eraser, we're ready to absorb every single moment of our lives and keep them in our bodies, hearts, and souls. Thank you.